Well, to discuss more about Indonesia's G20 presidency and the Bali summit, we are joined by the Rector of Universitas Indonesia, Professor Ari Kuncoro. Hi, Professor Ari. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Right, of course, in assuming role of G20 presidency, Indonesia has repeatedly vowed to provide what is called concrete deliverables, actions and policies that have a real and direct benefit. As you heard from President Widodo just now, there were pledges to deal with global food crisis, pandemic funds, and so forth. Now, in your view, which concrete deliverable do you think was the most beneficial from Indonesia's G20 presidency?
Yeah, I think it's very natural if everybody can agree on things that every country suffer. Right? The global geopolitical conflict has ramification in the food price. For example, a country in North Africa like Egypt, they have a food deficit. Yeah. So at the same time, the U.S. dollar continues to strengthen. That is actually double hit. You have deficit in food. You also have the increased price of import. So I think almost everyone agree. I think the Indonesia also they have something to offer. For example, Indonesia has potential for grain production and also for food diversification like sorghum, and also has almost monopoly in the production of palm oil. These two, I think, is provide a leverage for Indonesia to offer a solution for all countries. And I think behind the screen, there is what we call Serpam G20 meeting. They have been working hard to find a solution. I think they have outlined the problem from the top priority, go down the list, and at the top is food. The second, perhaps health, and then the energy. And they put things that probably more difficult to agree on. For example, the financial problem, financial crisis, because the central bank usually has independency. But I think the food is the more concrete way. But the most important thing about this deliverable, I think some kind of declaration that no country in the world can unilaterally say that they don't want to export their food because they prioritize the domestic need. I think everybody must work on like a system integrator where the food surplus country can have something to offer to a body, international institution like FAO, and then the IMF provide financing, then everybody can have a win-win solution.
Right.
The food supplier, perhaps they can get foreign exchange, and the food deficit country, they can get food for their population.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned there, food, of course, is a very key issue. It's a basic human necessity. The G20 member states say it's a basic human right to have food security. And of course, that was sparked by the Russia-Ukraine war, this food security issue. Now, in his opening of the G20 Bali summit, Professor, Indonesia's President Joko Widodo clearly stated that, quote, we must end the war, end quote, referring to the Russia-Ukraine war. Let's first listen to what President Widodo said.
Being responsible here also means that we must end the war. If the war does not end, it will be difficult for the world to move forward. We should not divide the world into parts. We must not allow the world fall into another Cold War.
Now, Professor, those were some strong words, some bold words from President Widodo, almost alluding that the war is a big source of the world's problems at the moment. What do you make of President Widodo's words? And in your view, how will this set the tone for the G20 Bali summit? Professor Ari, can you hear me?
Of the world, and the other is energy hub. You can imagine two strategic commodity that actually going into conflict. So that is make President Jokowi to sound that it is time to end the conflict. And I think the cost is already too high, even in the developed country. If you look at the headline, even in the U.S., the middle class, those earn about 100,000 US dollar a year, they said that they now are living paycheck to paycheck because the rising cost of food, cost of grocery. And in the UK, 83% of the people surveyed, they said that they have problem with their income, how to buy food. And even 31% of that number actually say that they have to decrease their food expenditure so they can buy the other thing. You can imagine that if we want, if we hold on the purchase of the durable good, that is very natural, right? But if the respondent said that I have to hold on food, then it's probably something terrible. You can imagine if that happened in the developed country. So what happened in the countries like in North Africa, in South Asia, like Sri Lanka, like Pakistan? Indonesia is a little bit fortunate, blessed with the agriculture sector that actually provide harvest to the people. But we also have to think, not our people. I think I'm going to repeat the president word. Not our people, but the people of the earth. That is the significance of the President Jokowi's statement.
Right. Professor, and also as we know, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is absent for the G20 Bali summit. Now, in your view, how will President Putin's absence affect the outcome of the G20 summit?
People said that because if we look at the president, all president, the head of state that attending the meeting, actually there is a team behind them. So this team actually working behind this game. So the most important thing is actually the team. And the head of state only confirm what each country interest and express that in the meeting. So the absence of President Putin is not really a problem, right? Because of what? Because I think there is some issues about what about the other country president if President Putin attend, and also I think Russia, I think, has its interest well represented by the foreign ministry of Russia. So it's not really an issue. What is most important is actually how they can come up with some kind of joint statement, communique. It doesn't matter in what sector, but at least they need to show strong solidarity. That is the most important, not who is attending, who is not.